I'm Heather Vale.
And I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones.
And joining us today is Bob Doyle, one of the stars from The Secret, which is about the law of attraction, and the creator of Boundless Living and Wealth Beyond Reason. Bob, thanks for being here with us.
It is my pleasure.
So today we're going to talk about relationships and dealing with other people, because honestly, everything in life is a relationship. We can't go through life without having relationships with people, and even relationships with ourselves. So what are your suggestions for kind of making that a smooth process when we have to deal with other people?
You know, first of all, I think you really nailed it at the very end when you said a relationship with yourself. Because a lot of us have really dysfunctional relationships with ourselves. Because we're really not honoring who we really are. We are very much, a lot of people are very much in please other people mode. They may not be conscious of it, but they just, you know, they want people to like them, which is normal. And they want to, you know, they want to fit in certain situations, work or whatever. So we mold ourselves, you know, to fit, and that's the same with relationships. Especially if we're talking about like a primary relationship, we see somebody, we're attracted to them, we want them to be attracted to us, and we try to decide, well, what is it that they want? You know, who do I need to be to attract them? Now, not everybody's like that, but this is something I run up against a lot. And that can never work long term. You might be able to actually bring the relationship in, but it's not going to be long before, you know, you can't fake it
before you come out.
That's right. Aspects of you will come out, and then you realize, and then you both realize this is not as perfect as it could have been, or that it looked like, and all of that. One of my biggest questions that I get, aside from the money question, how do you attract money, is can I attract a specific person? And so I have a whole video about that, you know, that goes into, in essence, that's just not an appropriate way to look at it. It's not that if you find somebody in your life that you're attracted to, and you would like to be in a relationship with them, it's not that you can't, it's not that it won't happen. I'm saying by attaching yourself to that person, that's totally the wrong strategy, because number one, you don't know everything about that person. That takes quite a while, you know, that takes a real deep, you know, just a real being around them, having conversations, and being honest. So you get to learn who they really are, and a lot of times people will get into a relationship and then find out the real stuff and go, oh my God, why, you know, they're not who I thought at all. But you're probably just as guilty as showing up as somebody that you're not really either. Because I think a lot of us think that our authentic selves, who we really are, is not appropriate. It's not enough. People won't like us, they won't understand us, they'll think we're a lunatic, whatever. You know, I think that's a deep concern for a lot of people. But isn't it delightful when you see a person out there who's really, you just know they're playing full out, you know, and you may not, you go, I would never do that, I would never be that, but there's kind of an appreciation for like their authenticity. Yeah. Like when I was younger, in my 20s and stuff, I really struggled with this being able to express myself authentically, because I had that same, well, what will people think, and you know, all of that. But I would see musical performers, one in particular, who whenever he got up on that stage just was a lunatic, but I know him that's truly who he was. He was so expressive and so a stand for people being your authentic self and living life and enjoying it. So inspirational. And he was just playing full out. That's what really, like, I wanted that. I wanted to be able to go out in the world and just be Bob Doyle, scars and all. And what I learned much later, obviously, particularly after the law of attraction, is that's just so the key to happiness and career and relationship and everything. The people that you are surrounded with right now, you're surrounded with because of who you've been being. And a lot of that may be this whole manufactured persona that you think is appropriate. And you may have even bought into it, you know. But the real stuff does show up eventually. Yeah. But so now if you decide that you're going to honor who you really are, these relationships may not be appropriate anymore. They may not be such a match. Yeah. And so you have to be ready for those to fall away. But what's going to come as a result of you being authentic is the people who really are attracted to you, whether it's, you know, primary relationships or just friendships or whatever, because of who you really are, which means you have total freedom to just be your authentic self. You don't have to manage yourself. You don't have to hold yourself back. You can be honest. You can just be. And it's such a like such a weight that's lifted. Again, this is something that a lot of people probably aren't even conscious that they're carrying around, this management of themselves out in the world. But that's the kind of thing that causes stress, and because you're in constant management mode and you don't even know it. It can be exhausting, and if it's a career that you're in because you thought that's the career you should be in, so not only are you doing the job that you think you should be doing, you're also being somebody you think you should be being. So your whole life is basically just a facade. It's not even your life.
Right. Okay. But let's clarify a little bit, because when it comes to, for example, dating, the first few times we go out with someone, we're going to do our hair nicely, we're going to dress nicely, for women, put on their makeup, whatever. And then after a while, you let them see you in the sweats and t-shirt and that sort of thing. But you're not going to show up for dinner at a nice place. It's like, this is how I am.
But some people might. I think Bob
might.
I probably.
It sounds like he would.
I probably would by accident, because I have no fashion sense. But
well, I clearly don't either.
But I think. But no, I mean, yes, you're right. But that is still a cultural thing. I mean, that is something we learned, that the first time we do this, we do all this, so we present this package.
But I think it's getting to a point of being comfortable enough with some person, and not necessarily, it's not being inauthentic to show, because we have a whole range to ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
We have the dressed up side, we have the down and dirty side, we have the let's fix my car and change the oil side, we have the let's go to work in the office side.
Yes.
Those are not necessarily different personas, they're just different aspects of ourselves.
But as long as, and all that is great, as long as we're also honoring the other stuff too.
Right.
Whether it's, maybe not on the first date, but it's not that you're ashamed of it. It's not that you're hiding it. It's not that you're trying to let them think that you're not that. You're just, this is the part that you're doing now.
Okay.
And then you can, ease that in. But you'll also pretty much know if it's going well, whether or not this person, well, I shouldn't say that, because you don't really know whether they're going to appreciate the real you or not until you start to show it.
Yeah.
At some point, if you're going to be happy, if it's going to be a relationship that is sustainable, you're going to have to show up and just see what happens. Because you don't, and I know this from personal experience, you do not want to get into a relationship and just maintain it, just so it doesn't go away.
Right.
Because it's, okay, yes, I got a relationship, but I'm not happy, I'm not me, I feel inauthentic, I feel completely, like just empty. That's no good. So yeah, it might take a little bit longer to find the one, okay, but man, when you do, then it's just so freeing, because you get to be who you really are. It's not that you're never going to argue or have, conflict or whatever, but at least you are being who you really are in that, and that's the most attractive you're going to be to the people for whom you should be attractive. You can't please everybody, nor should you want to try, right? So
very good point. I'm going to throw myself at the mercy of the court here.
Oh boy!
And I'm going to use myself as the guinea pig here.
Okay.
Now, before we met, Bob, you had a specific image of me of like, hello, I'm Steve G. Jones. Because of my videos, I'm very professional, and I am Dr. Steve G. Jones. I have a doctorate in education. I've always felt the need to present myself in a very academic way. Heather says it comes across sometimes as, I'm Steve G. Jones, and the rest of you are not.
yeah,
And
so that's exactly what I was going to think. That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm Steve Jones, you're not.
And that's not right. And that's not what I wanted to portray at all. So why don't we do a little, using me as a guinea pig, I'll sacrifice myself here. What would you say as a pointer for someone like myself?
Well, what's interesting about meeting you, which has just recently happened, is I was really pleasantly surprised at your personality, at like who you really are and how you show up, which is completely, well, I'm not saying that you show up as a jerk, right, but you are Steve G. Jones. And so we don't really get to know you, right? And so, but there is just something that, like, if you did do that, it would just add this whole, because now he's approachable, he becomes a real person that, trusts you, like you stuff. They trust you. Do they like you? I don't know. Do you want them to like you? Do you care? That's really the question. Do you care whether or not these people like you or not? And that may have been the decision that you made back then. But I would love to see your videos with a little bit more of this. It doesn't take away at all from your credibility. You still got your certifications and your knowledge and your experience and your abilities and all of those things. But again, that's also sort of a marketing decision, But who do you want? Would you rather just attract? It's really your call. Are you happy? Do you feel like you're doing just fine with this? Or are you feeling like I am? Like I want more people to know that I love playing the ukulele, right? And that I love dogs. Like I would just do anything to save a dog. These aspects, and that I'm a complete lunatic. I mean, I've got a whole YouTube channel of me just with the webcam going, you know, all that stuff that people would not expect. But I want them to know that,
Right.
because in terms of for business, I want the perfect client, right? And what I did when I first started was I want everybody, right? Because I was new in business, and so I was very, very generic. And then The Secret happened too, and then they said, oh, he's Bob Doyle from The Secret. He's the guru guy or whatever. And I got wedged into that, you know, and so I felt really constricted about just showing myself, because I thought, well, my professional credibility will go away. But the fact is, I may lose some people, but I'll gain all these other people who love music and love puppies and the law of attraction and are fun to work with. So I know that I'll attract, the more authentic I am, the more people I'll attract, that it's just going to be fun and enjoyable to be around.
Yeah.
That's a very good
And
point.
Steve has actually come a long way in the past year or so.
In my therapy.
in your authenticity.
Yeah.
And I remember we actually talked about this a year ago. You and I got together, and I said I'd been hanging out with Steve because I knew you were both from Georgia. Maybe you know each other. And you mentioned the perception you had, and I'm like, yeah, but he's not like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was really, every time, he's so precise about what goes out in public, and I'm like, loosen up.
Yeah.
And I think I got you to loosen up a bit, and
You
even
did.
in these videos.
And this is an example of
Yes.
with Top Success Secrets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think there's a takeaway, there's a greater takeaway for this, because as I was going into the videos, it's like a lot of people go into their lives or into a dating situation, they present what they feel would be appropriate. Now, I wasn't trying to trick anyone, I was just trying to show them what I felt would be appropriate, which is the academic side
Yeah.
of me.
Yeah.
But I think to really embrace people and have them engage with you, you need to show them more, or, you know, all facets of yourself, or at least quite a bit more.
People are craving connection now like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's hard to connect to because it's information, but there's no heart connection, right? And that's what people are really, really craving. So they want to work with someone who they can connect to and feel. Well, my coaching clients, that's what they say. I just felt drawn to you. I resonate with you, because they know a certain amount of me. They don't say I was attracted to your knowledge. I was attracted to the fact that you were in The Secret. They heard me on something, or they saw a video or whatever where I was really being me, and they felt me, and then they showed up. And those are the clients who I love working with. They're the best ones, because I can really just truly be me. I don't have to put on any kind of a face. Because I do authentically know how to coach people, just as Bob Doyle. I don't have to, you know, adjust anything. But when we can laugh together and play and goof off, that's awesome.
I also find that people like to see that we're not just this one-dimensional person. They like to know that we have negative emotions, we go through problems, that we overcome challenges, and and break through, because that's just as inspirational. In fact, I think that's more inspirational to admit, I went through this really crappy stuff, and look, this is what I learned, this is how I grew from it, rather than to say, life is perfect, and always be putting out just this motivational, inspirational stuff. Like, people don't connect with that.
2 years ago, I made the decision to share publicly that I was leaving my marriage of 24 years, right?
Wow.
And that's, and of course I didn't, that was a scary thing, because, well, your law of attraction, why can't you just
Yeah.
And that's, but I can address all of that. But the point is that when I did that, I first did it on a telesummit, and the response was crazy, just because that they just so felt me, and they so appreciated knowing that, oh, he's human and he's moving through, right? So you don't have to be perfect. They appreciate the fact that you're human, and you still have your knowledge. So they know I can help them, and that I'm a human.
Yeah.
So that's really, really awesome and freeing, because again, then I just get to be myself.
Right. Because the perception is, how can this guy help me if nothing bad has ever happened to him? Life's just been perfect. He's on The Secret. He just attracts wealth out of the sky. He can't relate to me.
There's some now.
I could use some.
Yeah, but no, you're absolutely right. Or people feel intimidated. Like when people say, like you introduced me as one of the stars of The Secret, and that's a word I avoid. I avoid guru too, even though it just means teacher. But but there's an energy around that. I don't want any, like I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, oh, I just can't help feeling a little starstruck. And I'm going, stop this now.
But we could call you one of the cast, but then that implies that it was all fakes.
I always just say featured teacher.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know where I got that from somebody else. Of course, but
Hello.
but
I'm a feature teacher.
but the point is, I don't want to intimidate anybody because I know how to help them. You know, I think it's cool that they respect what I accomplish, and I appreciate that too. And I think, you know, I'm very grateful. And I'm grateful when people express appreciation. So it's not that. It's that when it affects their ability to connect with me because they think I'm this thing, that's what I don't want.
Right.
And so I really, when I show up at a live event or whatever, I can't tell you how many times after speaking, I would get these people, you know, they line up to say hello. Or, I had no idea you were so funny. like I'm going, what am I putting out there? You know, and then I go back and I look and I see, oh, I'm Joe Announcer. Hi, I'm Bob Doyle. Da, 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 da. Friendly, generic.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know anything about me. So the more I can share that, the better it is.
Okay. Now also with intimate relationships, I've found that along the lines of authenticity, one of the most important ways to connect with people is to authentically communicate. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of like dating advice and pickup advice and all this stuff that really revolves around saying the right thing, doing the right thing, not texting back within a certain time frame, not doing this before a certain number of dates, not doing that.
Oh boy.
You can't call, you can't do, blah, 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 blah.
Like
And what
player moves.
well, player moves, and then on the female side, it's like how to make him chase you because you can't. It's like, it's just, to me, it feels like too much game playing, too much manipulation. Whereas what I found really works is just authentically saying, look, this is how I feel about this.
Yeah.
And for some reason, nobody does this.
Yeah, it was very freeing for me because I'm in a relationship now where that kind of open communication was there from day one. And I mean, it's so amazing. Now the thing is that both parties have to have a certain amount of maturity around this.
Right.
You know, they can't be all defensive and they can't be like all about justifying. One of the great things about the relationship I'm in now is if I have an issue with something that she's doing, I can just say it and she listens and she nods. She doesn't, there's no fight back, you know, there's an actual discussion. I think that's rare, and that's what makes those really, when you find that,
And
it's
I don't
really...
think it should be rare. I think it's there for everybody because all it requires is just looking in your heart a little bit and expressing this is where I'm at.
But yes, absolutely, and that's, if we hadn't been trained otherwise, that's probably how we do it. That would be our nature. This is what I'm feeling, this is what we feel. Just honesty, just truth.
Yeah.
But we've learned to hold this back or say this way, manipulate that whole game playing thing you're talking. We've just been taught it, it's on television, that's the dating shows and all that. So everybody just thinks that's how you're supposed to do it. But when you really just take a step back, like you said, it's just logical. Be honest. Just freaking communicate with each other. You know, say what it is. Without any weird energy around it or trying to be right and all of that. All of that behavior is stuff we've learned. It's learning to be manipulative. Oh, I'll get her this way. I heard this on the thing. I'm going to say this. Boom. Instead of just plain honesty. And so to when you find that, it's like, wow, you just do not want to let go of that.
Yeah.
Because it's just so freeing.
Okay, so how can they find that?
I don't know. No, again, so it's just like anything, a relationship is just like anything else in the universe you want to attract. You have to have the vision, you have to know, not who specifically it is, that's a danger zone.
But the type of...
But the type, what are you wanting to feel from this relationship? You want to feel like you can be honest. You want to feel passion. You want to feel interest in what they're doing and vice versa. So there's some very definite, you know, a primary relationship is an emotional experience. So you want to get clear on what, you know, and what you really want. And also, while you don't want to put focus on it, you want to be clear about what you will not tolerate. Because we tolerate way too much in our careers and our relationships and all of that. I mean, it's like, yeah, the behavior that this is a deal killer. You know, I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna, you know, do that. Again, you don't want to have all your attention on that, but going into building the vision, you want to craft that person with all those qualities that, you know, you're very clear that you want because you have had plenty of experiences that have taught you what you don't want. That's the gift in all of those crappy relationships. Is you get real clarity. This I don't want, or you should get that. Too many other people, they fall into that pattern. Oh, this is what I deserve. This is the best I can get. So they keep dating the same person over and over and over again.
That, yeah.
So we don't want that. So that again, it's just that whole vision. What is it? So you're clear. I don't want this. What do you really want? And then the other part is, who do I want to be in this relationship? You know, not just the characteristics of them, who do I want to be? Well, I want to be able to be honest. I want to be able to be free. I want to have this kind of fun. And I want to be compatible. So it's not just about them. It's about creating the relationship, the feeling of the whole thing. And then that way, you are now in that vibration to attract that.
Right.
You're not just waiting for somebody to appear over here. It's you're creating something different. So you're not just creating I just keep saying it over and over because it's important. And it's the same way with even your car or your house. It's who am I in this relationship with this car or this house or this career? Who am I in all of this? So that it's not just this outward, I'm trying to manipulate everything.
Yeah, and back to the point at the beginning about the relationship with yourself, we can't really say, I want someone who's honest, I want someone who's supportive, I want someone who's loving and caring, if we're not willing to be those things too.
That's exactly right. Because if we're not those things, we won't attract it because we're not in resonance with it. We'll crave it always. But until we can own, where we could be more honest with ourselves, or we could be better in these areas and work on ourselves, start with ourselves first. If we really put the focus more on being exactly who we want to be, those people will show up and we don't even have to think about them. They're just going to show up because we're putting out there, this is who I am, it's authentic and it's awesome.
Okay, Bob, so if someone wants to connect with you and get coaching around their own relationships, because usually we need someone to hold our hand going through this process.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to help people along those lines because relationships are a very rich part of life and it's just more fun to go through life if you've got somebody to share that with. BoundlessLivingCoaching.com is the way to sort of interface with me and tell me what you're up to and what is it that you're really looking for, and then we can have a conversation around how we can make that happen.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Bob, for sharing with us. I'm Heather Vale,
And I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones.
helping you heat up your success at HotSuccessSecrets.com.